I first encountered Blanche van Ginkel in fall 1987, when I started my professional bachelor's degree at the Faculty of Architecture and Landscape Architecture at the University of Toronto. I was rushing up the entrance stairs to the main hall, and she was striding towards the grand staircase leading to the second floor. Petite in stature, she was elegantly dressed, and she commanded respect just by her demeanor. When I asked someone who she was, I was told she was a professor and a former dean. This impressed me profoundly, as there were next to no female presence on the teaching faculty. We women made up perhaps 20% of the student body. It was only in 1994, as a young graduate student enrolled at McGill University, however, that I would discover the extent to which Blanche van Ginkel had been a pivotal pioneer in the Canadian architectural scene.
Well, first of all, we could start with her very low voice. She was never projecting. You had to come to her to listen very carefully.
There's a very interesting story behind Blanche entering the Atelier Le Corbusier in Paris. She arrived in the French capital in 1948, in the age of 25 years. It was after her graduation at the McGill School of Architecture and before gaining her degree in city planning at Harvard University. When she went to Le Corbusier's studio, she was prepared to become an unpaid stagiaire, as everybody else. At first, she was asked to draw several drawings, and shortly afterwards, Le Corbusier offered her a paid job. What it tells us about Blanche? There had to be something very special about those drawings. And what it tells us about Le Corbusier? He had a special sense for recognizing talents and extraordinary skills of young people. And despite some of the well-known stories about him discriminating women, he was capable of appreciating their professional qualities.
We created the Philadelphia group for SIAM, which I think it was Blanche's idea for the name, Group for Architectural Investigation. We were a very collegial group, and we undertook to send something of our work to the Aix-en-Provence SIAM conference. I think it was 1963. And we also presented work at the 1967 conference in Dubrovnik. Those are the two SIAM conferences which we were related to. And the Philadelphia group, we analyzed, in the first go-round, we analyzed, using the SIAM grid, we analyzed the new community of Levittown that was under construction in Pennsylvania, near Philadelphia, and did an analysis using the nomenclature and the colors and so forth of the SIAM grid. And then in the 67 conference, we did a proposed redesign using essentially the same quantitative figures, but giving it a different social form and physical form.
Bonjour, je voudrais rendre hommage à Blanche Lemco van Ginkel, la saluer et très sincèrement la remercier pour tout le travail qu'elle a pu faire au cours de sa longue carrière, mais tout particulièrement dans les années 50-60, alors qu'il s'agissait d'éviter que le Vieux-Montréal, cet endroit absolument formidable par son architecture, son histoire et son identité de quartier fondateur de la métropole historique du Canada, ne soit détruit au service d'une autoroute, une installation de mobilité, de transport, un grand ouvrage de génie civil. Or, il faut imaginer que dans les années 50-60, on prévoyait ce genre d'équipement en front de mer à travers le Vieux-Montréal. Cette perte aurait été gigantesque et le meilleur geste que pouvait poser non seulement une architecte et une urbaniste qu'elle est encore, n'était pas de réaliser quelque chose, mais de réaliser la valeur de ce qui existait déjà, C'est un pas gigantesque qu'elle nous a permis d'accomplir. On attend encore à Montréal un monument à leur mémoire de ces sauveurs de la cité. Merci et félicitations encore, Blanche Lemco van Ginkel.
Bonjour, my name is Joseph Hillel. I'm a filmmaker, director of the film City Dreamers. I'm presently in Montreal on Le Mont-Royal. I came here because it's one aspect of Blanche's achievement in Montreal that I could not include, unfortunately, in the film. So I want to express all my gratitude to Blanche, not only to helping me to start that film. It was after meeting with you that I decided that I would do City Dreamers, and also want to thank you for your work on the Mont Royal that I visit almost every day.
They were pioneering preservationists, valuing the old city for its ancient street structure and buildings. They made recommendations for rehabilitation, which resulted in the declaration of Old Montreal as a protected historic site in 1964.
I met Sandy Van Ginkel because he and Blanche created something called the Ginkel van for John Lindsay, the mayor of New York. And the Ginkel van was a very small bus built on a funny platform, which they got from Oldsmobile actually, but it was a platform that worked, and I'd read about it, and I'm walking along this de Maisonneuve Street in Montreal, and I see this bus in miniature in the lobby of a building. I have no idea where it's come from or anything like that, but it's covered with canvas that's painted like the bus would be in life. And I'm really intrigued, so I go into the building and work my way to the office of Van Ginkel Associates. And I say, look, I want to talk to somebody about this bus because I'm really interested in it. And so Sandy appears, and we talk about the bus, and we talk about a bunch of other stuff. And eventually I say, look, I got to go home. Why don't you come for dinner? Or come at least for a drink anyway. So he meets Jean and we talk, and eventually Blanche turns up, I think there, maybe another night. Anyway, we get together and we all think we're lovely. And we're enthusiastic. I'm particularly enthusiastic about the bus. And of course, I'm enthusiastic about their enthusiasm.
To my astonishment, that there had been only one president from a Canadian School of Architecture in over a century of ACSA's history. That president was Blanche Lemco van Ginkel. She served in 1986 and 1987 when she was at the University of Toronto.
I was first introduced to Blanche Lemco van Ginkel in my undergrad at Dalhousie when I was asked to write a paper on her bridge in Bowring Park, Newfoundland. I was most excited about this project, not only because I had the chance to research a female architect, but because I also got to research a piece of architecture that was in my hometown. I actually had the opportunity to continue researching her at my most recent work term this summer at Heritage Newfoundland. I was working on the heritage designation of the first modernist structure or building in Newfoundland and Labrador, and that happened to be Blanche's footbridge in Bowring Park. This was so exciting for me, and I actually got to interview Blanche and talk to her about her career and her time in Newfoundland, designing the bridge, interacting with people from Newfoundland. I actually had the chance to tell her what an impact her work has been on me and the people of Newfoundland, and it was a wonderful chance to speak with her and an amazing opportunity to talk to one of the most inspiring female architects.
In hindsight, her aura undoubtedly, unconsciously left a lasting impression on me. Women can indeed succeed in this field, whether taking up professional practice, pursuing scholarly endeavor, or training the next generation of architects. Despite many advances, we still struggle to place women in leadership positions in architecture. Female students make up about 2/3 of the student body, if not more, at the Université Laval School of Architecture in Quebec City, where I teach. Yet they remain in the minority at many architectural firms in the province, notwithstanding the progressive policies some offices have instituted to ensure parity amongst male and female employees.
Talking to her was such a privilege, and she is one of the biggest inspirations for me as I start my career as a young female architect.